Yes, of course. As we already see a few of the bans coming in here, Kassadin being banned out as well as Shen. I gotta go ahead and make a little bit of a prediction here, though. I bet you that Zach will either be picked or banned very early in the game, either banned by Project Challenger or picked by Cognitive, because iDream actually had Zach the two games that Cognitive won when they were playing up in PAX, and he had Zach banned against him in the two games that they lost. A fun little fact that I looked up while I was waiting to jump into the game with you. And right away, we do see that Zach being picked up for Cognitive Gaming, I believe that is. Yes, Cognitive Gaming with iDream, Valkyrin, Xantheria, Nothing Here, and Captain Ziploc. Lulu possibly being picked up by Purple Team. Rule 18, another fun little fact. Rule 18 has over 1,000 ranked games of Lulu this season. And of course, Xantheria actually plays a Lulu mid a lot in solo queue. He actually drew a number of bans on his Lulu mid when he was playing up in PAX with Cognitive Gaming.
So let's hope he can definitely make some plays. He did go for Nami instead, but Nami is another playmaking support. Similar to Lulu, if you can land that CC, if you can give your own allies the buffs, you can possibly sway a game. And I'm sorry, I actually have my microphone muted on stream up to this point, so I was talking with Gbay in Skype, but none of you guys could hear me, but hopefully we're all done with that. You know, just the little issues that we had to work out before the game. There is the other guy. And so, saying again, since you guys didn't hear it, this is the NESL Premier League. This is Cognitive Gaming over on our blue team, and Project Challenger on the purple team. So getting back to the picks and the bans, we have a Terra Cobra, which would be interesting. I don't like it as a pick though, because Nami has such a better range on her stun. She has Engage, whereas Tarek does not really, and she can just do a lot more in team fights. If he does go for it, they do have Zach for the initiation though. He could possibly follow up for some guaranteed crowd control with that Dazzle. And it's not a Tarek.
No, it looks like they're going to switch over to Corki at the last second, which is still a bit of an odd pick, something that you don't see as often, at least in the LCS or in the pro leagues.
Although over on the Asian scene, he has been making a comeback. Over in the LPL, picked up a couple of times. And this has to do with both his recent buff to the mana cost on his ultimate, now at a flat 20 at all ranks, as well as the buff to Trinity Force, which are such a great item on him, proccing with, able to proc on the 2-second cooldown with his ultimate. And the fact that it gives 200% base damage instead of 150% has made him a much stronger champion than any other champion that can use that Trinity Force. So he is making a comeback, hasn't just made it over to the NALCS, but hopefully we'll see him a bit at Worlds.
Yeah, hopefully we will. Hopefully we'll see all sorts of fun stuff coming out of the Chinese teams. People haven't really been paying too much attention to the LPL this season. They've been running all sorts of fun stuff like Support Annie, but here we can see Lux and Caitlyn being locked in for Purple Team for Project Challenger, with the response being possibly a Vi and possibly a Zed. We've actually seen a lot of Vi recently in a lot of Challenger games, both in the NA and in the EU.
And if I was locked in as the jungler, it would go pretty well with the Zac to be able to lock someone out for a long time. Same with the Nautilus. Doesn't have quite the dueling potential, but has quite a bit of crowd control. On our purple team, they have some great engage with the Nocturne, with the Nami and the Lux, but if any of them get jumped on, they don't have a lot of dueling potential, whereas Zac and this Lee Sin, however, or really any of the junglers that they've kind of switched between so far, they have great potential to just jump into the fight and lock someone down entirely. So I feel like unless Project Challenger over here can manage their positioning and their champions, their spells perfectly, then Cognitive might be able to just enter the fight whenever they choose.
Yeah, that is true. They have all sorts of initiation. They have Lee Sin who can jump in. They have Zac who can get some obviously some really nice initiation with his elastic slingshot, and of course Blitzcrank who can make anyone pay for the slightest little misstep forward. If he can get a hook onto any carry, then that's obviously going to be very devastating, especially for someone like a Lux who doesn't have a natural escape or even a Nocturne if he hasn't built any tanky items yet. We're going to be seeing the last pick here for the purple side. Um, it's going to be interesting to see what they go with. A lot of maybe a little few oddball picks here, not necessarily anything too crazy, but definitely it'll be interesting to see how that Corki does bottom lane up against that Caitlyn and Nami, Corki and Blitzcrank. A lot of kill potential in that lane.
And absolutely, with the Blitzcrank pick, with the Zac in the top lane, doesn't look like he'll be bringing teleport, but Lee Sin, a very aggressive early ganker, might be able to just outroam this Nocturne jungle, might be able to gank the Nasus, who has a particularly weak early game, and we'll see if Cognitive can use their roaming, can use their strong initiation, they could prove a very hard time for Project Challenger. However, Project Challenger does have some pretty great late game scaling with that Lux able to just obliterate a Corki if she catches him with one light binding, or a Nami, or even a Nocturne to just initiate a fight, catching someone like Karthus or Corki completely out. They do have definitely a lot of range on their team. Is kind of their strength here.
Yes, and as we can now see the teams swapping around, we'll be going on ahead and getting into the game soon. Definitely two very strong team comps. You can see over on the blue side all sorts of damage coming out from Karthus and Corki. Maybe a little bit of a somewhat boring farming top lane with Zac going up against Nasus. But as I said earlier, iDream, very confident on that Zac, a real comfort pick for him there.
Right, and on a Zac top, he does have the opportunity to farm up to get that Sunfire Cape, as well as just a lot of great tanky items. Has the potential to do a lot more for a team than necessarily a jungle Zac would, even though he might not have the early ganks. It doesn't look like he'll be taking a teleport, so he won't be making as much of a presence in the other lanes. But they might actually be able to get some early kills up the Nasus. He took Ghost and Teleport, so he doesn't have a lot of escape against a Lee Sin and a Zac, who have a solid amount of CC, a good amount of damage in the early game. If Zac can get the knock up and Lee Sin can come in with his Sonic Wave and Resonating Strike, it could actually be a dangerous lane for Nasus, who just wants to sit back and farm. He doesn't have a lot of tankiness early, he can't lifesteal a lot either, and although he can throw his Wither on someone, he might get ganked here early. I also see Lux here as an early gank, just to help keep her down, to help keep her from getting that scary AP where she can just erase someone from the map. And the bot lane is most likely going to be safe through most of the laning phase, just by the nature of Nami and Caitlyn able to disengage so well and just farm or even harass safely from a range.
Yes, and if they do get those ganks onto Nasus top lane, it may spell a little bit of trouble for Purple Team. If Nasus can't get some tanky items, then Purple Team might actually have some trouble tanking in general. Nocturne is more on the squishy side of a jungler, unless you're a big fat LP and you build nothing but tank items on all your junglers. But we'll have to go on ahead and see what the item builds are for each team here, because Nocturne may be a little more of a squishy jungler. Nasus, we'll have to see if he goes for farming that Q, similar to how Yen did. It didn't work out too well for CLG back at the North American Regionals. But again, with all this damage, I'm a little bit worried for Purple Team. With all this damage coming out from the Karthus and the Corki and the hooks from Blitzcrank and the Zac Initiates, I'm definitely liking the look of Cognitive Gaming's team composition right now.
Right, although I do like that both teams didn't necessarily choose a weak point in their game. All of them have their advantages. Over on Cognitive, Karthus has a very, very weak early game, and you could say the Zac does as well just because he hasn't built any major items, but they have Blitzcrank for the pulls for a potential invade. They have Lee Sin just bringing out a lot of damage potential from the jungle. Over on Purple Team, Caitlyn with a very strong early game, and Lux can play a very safe early game, allowing Nasus to farm up to the late game where he can make up for someone like Nocturne who might not be doing quite as much in a late game team fight. Both teams kind of have a good variety, and it just depends on how they use it, how they use their early damage potentials to either compensate for or protect the champions who are a little bit weaker early on in the game. And with the range coming out from purple, from Project Challenger over here, they might be able to win their lanes with the range from Lux, Nami, and Caitlyn, potentially get some good ganks in once Nocturne hits level 6, and they do have a lot of opportunities to push down turrets. They have a very short range over on Cognitive, so unless they're able to eliminate a few members from the team in a team fight, or just by applying a lot of pressure, there's a chance that they might be able to push turrets early and get a gold advantage through those means.
Yes, but of course, with all their initiation that they do have with that Blitzcrank and with that Zac, they're definitely going to have the opportunity to catch out a few people as we get loaded into the game here. If you look down at each of the teams, it's definitely going to come down to much more of a skill comparison as we get loaded up into the game right here. If you look at mid lane, it's going to come down to whether Karthus can dodge a lot of those skill shots thrown out by Lux. If you look to bottom lane, assuming we don't have too many crazy lane swaps, it's going to come down to whether people can dodge those Blitzcrank pulls, those Lee Sin resonating strikes, and it's going to be interesting to watch. Very skill-based game that we have here today.
Absolutely, not only a skill-based game, but a skin-based game, and we can see over here that Project Challenger is actually taking the lead right off the beginning. 5-4. Let's see how Cognitive plans to come back from this in the exciting game of the NESL Premier Series. Sorry, I just feel like I feel like it's mandatory to include that. It's just something that gets ingrained in you through all of your league playing, and hopefully will never go away.
Of course, as we see a few pings going down, a little bit of aggression here. Lux actually just on the other side of Blitzcrank right now. A blind pull could theoretically spell a little bit of trouble from them as iDream sees that Lux. A few auto attacks from Lux going in, and Blitzcrank going right up trying to get the pull.
You have managed to make it into the game a little bit before I have, but I am currently joining you now. Sorry about that.
All right, I'm at 60 seconds right now.
Okay, perfect. I am right along with you. And I apologize for that. We can go ahead and continue.
All right, Karthus getting a little bit of poke down to Lux. Lux going to go on ahead and back and heal that up without too much worry. She'll Karthus almost stopping the recall there as well. But it looks like a little bit of an aggressive invade here for Cognitive Gaming.
And they do have great positioning on this blue buff. They have not thrown down any wards, and Project Challenger knows where they are. They have the wards in the river. They might be able to collapse on this. I doubt that they will. Now Nami is running in, might get pulled by Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank has this, the Sonic Wave does not land. She flashes the pull, gets dropped very low, but is able to distract Cog for a little bit here.
Yes, you can see that they actually, Cognitive actually placed their Explorer ward in the lane to see that Nami when she was going into lane and go ahead and meet her there, forcing a little bit of a team fight, putting her in a sticky situation that she had to flash out of. Both junglers seeing if they can take a blue buff very early on here as Nocturne goes ahead and responds to Lee Sin stealing his by going on ahead and trying to steal theirs.
And although iDream was not able to stop a Wild Mimo from stealing away this blue buff, he did delay it quite a bit. And we now have Captain Ziploc in a pretty good position now, much farther ahead in his jungle than a Wild Mimo. He can get to ganking just a little bit earlier.
Yes, that is true, but that may have actually only been because Captain Ziploc ended up smiting the blue buff while a Wild Mimo did not. So we'll have to see if a Wild Mimo can actually end up catching right back up here with taking his red buff as we see Captain Ziploc securing his and going on ahead bottom lane to see if maybe he can do something with an early gank bottom lane after taking these double golems.
And we do have a level advantage down here. They are able to get the knockup and the grab onto Elite JC. He gets the first blood with a Phosphorus Bomb. That was something that we didn't expect. She didn't use her barrier, didn't use her flash, did not expect the burst there from nothing here. And that resulted in a now 700 gold advantage going over here to Cog.
Yes, I did not expect that at all, and certainly Caitlyn didn't, as well as Blitzcrank.
Flash grab comes out, the Ignite going down onto Rule 18, resulting in a second kill here for nothing here. And that's going to be a huge advantage here in Corki Blitzcrank, which can be a pretty snowbally lane once Corki is able to get some of those AD items.
You have to wonder, maybe that's just because in the end, Caitlyn hadn't played against a lot of Corkis. You don't necessarily understand how much burst Corki can do because, as you said there, Caitlyn died without burning the barrier or the flash, something that she could have easily lived out of if she was a bit less conservative with those summoner spells.
That's very true, and that's going to be something that can cost her. Hopefully, very soon she can I guess respect his damage a little bit better, because that could be a very rough lane for her now. And it's not often that we see a Corki. That is very true, but it's working out well for him so far. The range in that Phosphorus Bomb, able to secure 2 kills now.
Yes, it certainly is, as Nasus was actually just forced to burn his Ghost against Zac top lane, and then uses his teleport to get back to lane. So both of Nasus' summoner spells down top lane, as Lee Sin was also looking to see if he can make a little something happen in that lane. As we can see, bottom lane, the Corki and Blitzcrank going back to lane. Corki with all sorts of items ready to deal all sorts of damage. And
there in the mid lane, we have Captain Ziploc going over onto EV Card, takes her very low, but the shield from her W is able to save her. That she is on such low health, but they were not able to get a kill from that. And overall, that was simply just a flash burn over by EV Card.
Very nicely played. I wasn't expecting that at all, as Blitzcrank gets a hook onto Caitlyn in the bottom lane.
And they're able to put quite a bit of damage onto her. The spells from Corki coming out to work her down very low. Although she does have the range, might be able to farm a bit, she does have to watch out for Valkyrie with the hooks. He seems spot on. We have not seen him miss a hook yet this game.
That is true. Bottom lane, all sorts of crazy aggression. As I was saying earlier, that Blitzcrank and Corki have all sorts of kill potential. Corki still, you know, he may not be as popular as he once was, but he still has plenty of burst. And if Blitzcrank can land that pull on a squishy person like a support or an AD carry without many items, then they're definitely going to be having a rough time in that lane.
It appears Bob did not sleep in Valkyrin's bed last night, as he is spot on, getting another grab onto Rule 18. The damage is there from nothing here. Lands an excellent Aqua Prison, is able to keep him off of Rule 18, but with those low health bars, they are not in an excellent position down here in the bot lane.
No, they are not. All these hooks coming out from Valkyrin as he goes and gets another one onto Caitlyn.
And does land the knock-up. The damage is almost there from nothing here. Almost takes a turret shot. The flash from Rule 18 meant to grab that with the W, but was not able to put down damage. We now have 2 very, very low AD carries, but no kills.
Yes, both of these AD carries so low, and they're both staying in lane too, seeing if they can get just a little more CS or maybe a little bit of poke to finish off each other. Blitzcrank seeing if he can maybe get that hook there, but the minion wave blocking him and keeping Caitlyn safe for the time.
And we'll see Captain Ziploc actually moving down here. They're looking for the dive. They know Elite JC is on very low health. They had the river pinked, and so they're pretty confident that they don't have vision here. Captain Ziploc can just wait in that bush until they push the minions up, and although nothing here is very low, he may not have to tank any tower shots here. A Wild Mimo is nowhere to be found, and this could be a kill on Elite JC.
Another Blitzcrank hook as Lee Sin lands the resonating strike. The tower shot going onto Corki, but the barrier barely saving him. The Nami bubble landing onto Captain Ziploc, securing a kill there, but Karthus also finishes off that Caitlyn. Ooh, trading back and forth all over the map here, as Corki just barely gets out of there alive.
That's actually pretty rough for the bot lane over here on Cog, as Zamfira actually goes very aggressive over on EV Card, puts him very low. Almost snipes him with the ultimate, but Zamfira is forced to flash away. And Zamfira did get a kill from that play, almost 2. And but Elise JC was able to pick up an assist from that. We'll have a little bit more gold in this bot lane to hopefully not be taken so low.
You have to wonder whether or not Lux is going to be able to continue up with Karthus. Keep up with Karthus as the game goes on here. Karthus already making his presence a little bit known with the Requiem to steal a kill there on Caitlyn bottom lane. And also forcing Lux out of lane a few times. I've missed most of the action that's been going on mid lane, but he's certainly been forcing Lux out of lane. He's certainly been doing a lot to make this lane a little bit rough for her. As you can see, Lux picking up her blue buff right now, taking that from Mimo.
And so the gold still isn't that different. There is a 1,000 gold difference, which does mean something, but it's not significant here. And we still could have the catch out there if the Light Binding does land, like we just saw it miss.
Captain Ziploc going crazy top lane, blowing a ward and his ultimate. Cloud High actually got a little bit nervous there and blew his ghost as well. iDream just never decided to jump in with Captain Ziploc though, and both top laners are going to be able to just walk away from that one and go back to farming.
Now Captain Ziploc is moving in, puts the ward down for the vision, but a Wild Mimo does spot him out. And Captain Ziploc could actually be in a bad position here with EV card moving up, throws the ward down for the vision, lands the light binding, and Captain Ziploc is being taken very low, does use his safeguard to jump to Zamfira, and now this is a 3v2, a 3v3 even, with Cloud X High and iDream joining the team. We have Cognitive in a rough position here. They're very split up.
Yes, they are. iDream getting the ultimate on the Let's Bounce, knocking Lux up. Lux gets the kill onto Captain Ziploc. Wild Mimo being taken very low. iDream's going to get the elastic slingshot, but Wild Mimo flashes back over into the red buff area. Lux chasing after iDream. The Cell Division is going to go off, and it looks like Cloud High may be able to finish him off, but Karthus using that blue buff, staying, almost taking down Cloud High, but the lifesteal from finishing off Zac is going to keep Cloud High safe as he picks up that kill.
The Lucid Singularities and Light Bindings just did so much for that fight, as well as the Paranoia out of Nocturne. That was the first time he'd used this game, and it did result for a kill on Captain Ziploc. They did trade 2 for 0, I believe, with Caitlyn going down to the bot lane, very unfortunately.
Along with Nami, Corki finishing that kill off. This bottom lane just being hyper aggressive, getting all sorts of kills. Corki 3-0-2 right now, with Blitz 1-0-4. All sorts of crazy aggression, getting lots of early gold onto this AD carry.
And so, how do you think Caitlyn is going to respond? Is there a certain build that she can go? Is there a certain way that she can play to avoid the damage that's coming out from nothing here?
In the end, she can do a few things. She can maybe try to build a little safer to avoid the burst damage, or she can maybe go, you know, she picked up the extra Dorns, 2 Dorns blades, and a health potion to try and mitigate some of that burst damage. But in the end, it's all going to be about whether or not they can dodge these Blitzcrank grabs, as Karthus goes very aggressive on Lux in the mid lane.
Zamfira puts a lot of damage there on the EV card. Lands the last layways, but it's not enough damage as the final one misses. EV card does have the shield, but they're both on very low health. The ultimate from Zamfira coming out. EV card is not in range to throw out the damage, even though she did have vision. And that's a kill from Zamfira, playing that very, very well.
If only Lux had her ultimate there, she would have been able to finish off Karthus. But sadly for her, it was on cooldown. As we go back to bottom lane, Corki still being very aggressive, trying to poke that Nami down, and maybe Cognitive Gaming is already looking to take a red.
And Captain Ziploc comes in, flashes, kicks the Elite JC. She does net away, but the missiles are coming down from nothing here. The grab steals the kill over onto Valkyrin. Elite JC going down 4 times this game.
Again, Captain Ziploc with the insect plays, jumping all over the map, kicking people everywhere. Now it looks like they're going to go on ahead and take this dragon, which they can do very confidently with Caitlyn being dead and her being 0-4, even though they don't have as much vision as they would like. Not really any vision, actually, around dragon at least. But even without this vision, they can see Nocturne in the mid lane pressuring down their mid tower and just go on ahead and take a free dragon here.
Now they're moving in, collapsing on Wild Mamo. He did take the mid turret, but the wall from Karthus is down. He is slowed. Nothing here jumps in, is putting down the damage. Zamfira actually picks it up with the E, and now there are 4 members onto EV card. She does land an excellent light binding, but it's nothing to stop Nothing here, who is now going to move on to this mid turret.
Yeah, and it looks like they're going to be able to take this pretty handedly. All the objectives now going all over to Cognitive Gaming here. Really doing a good job of extending their lead, taking objectives, taking kills, and abusing all the little weaknesses that Project Challenger has been showing early on.
And right now, with Elite JC actually farming the bot lane, they have a good chance to put damage down in this turret. Might be able to take the inner turret. Rule 18 trying to defend that actually has to flash the Blitzcrank rocket grab, and this is going to be the second turret of the game.
Yes,
over here
it is, as Caitlyn is still farming that bottom lane, maybe seeing if she can push and make it somewhat, try to mitigate the trade right there, but in the end she's going to back as we see 3, almost 4 members all heading down to stop her.
And right now, Project Challenger's in a rough spot. They can't fall too far behind. Actually, the Paranoia coming out from Nocturne is going to jump onto Zamfira. The Lux ultimate misses. So does the Tidal Wave. Zamfira is just juking it out by running in a straight line, but a Wild Mimo is able to clinch the kill and actually receive a lot of damage in return from Karthus, who does not have his ultimate available.
Now you can see Cognitive Gaming actually pinging their blue buff, knowing that Nocturne's next move is going to be able to steal that, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to make any sort of play to stop that from happening, as it looks like that will go on over to Lux.
And she will grab the blue buff. They are in a good position now. That was definitely a solid play, picking up that kill on Zamfira. And they're actually in a position of power here. The bot lane needs to recall to defend this mid turret. with actually a Wild Mimo and Rule 18 recalling, this might not be in danger quite yet.
Captain Ziploc being taken a little bit low there by Lux, but without her ultimate, she's not going to be able to finish him off. As Elite JC goes on ahead and helps Lux push down this second mid tower, seeing if they can get any damage onto it before the Corki and Blitzcrank show up, and here they are, along with Karthus.
And as always, they're actually in a dangerous position with Valkyrin here. He does throw his overdrive. He might be able to flash, grab onto EV card. The wall goes down to slow. The Defile coming out with the damage and nothing here, picking up the kill onto EV card, her third death, bringing this to 10-4.
Another beautiful grab by Valkyrin, just on point today. I don't think I've personally at least seen him miss one that wasn't flashed out of by Rule 18 as the Nami bubble goes on. Another grab onto Caitlyn.
She pops the flash, but it's not going to be anything for Nothing Here's damage. He's already picked up his Trinity Force here 14 minutes into the game, and he's going to be putting out the damage with that Spellblade passive, as well as with the natural damage that it gives. And Elite JC in a bad position, 0-5, has 2 Doran's Blade and a Longsword.
Yeah, if you go ahead and take a look at the items on the AD carry, you can see Corki's 40 CS ahead as he goes in onto Rule 18.
Valkyrie does land the grab one more time for the kill secured, and we'll have to see if EV Card defend this. I don't think that she can, and I think this is going to be a 4th tower here for Cognitive Gaming.
I think every single one of Valkyrin's kills have been stolen by last-second grabs there. But as I was saying, if you take a look at the AD carries, Corki has a full item. Oh my goodness, as Nasus randomly going down to Zac in the top lane.
Unsurprisingly, Captain Ziploc just continuing to pressure these lanes. The top lane is the one that's received the least pressure. Nasus has been farming pretty well, but hasn't been able to roam to help his team. And now this should be his turret going down. With Captain Ziploc realizing that the other lanes are winning, he's just going to take this opportunity to get the 5th turret of the game and all of the outer turrets.
Yes, another turret, another objective going down for Cognitive Gaming. Very well played by them. As Nocturne
Paranoia from a Wild Mimo goes onto Zamfira, throws down the Fear. The Fear Tower will go off. This should be Elite JC picking up the kill as they trade a turret up in the top lane. But a great roam from Project Challenger picking up the lone kill. They might be able to come up here and get something out of top lane as well.
If they're going to want to swing this game back in their favor, then they're going to have to get picks like that and see if they can transition that into objectives. But right now, Caitlyn still does not have a single real item, as Corki already has his Trinity Force and a Longsword, in addition to his level 2 boots and Doran's Blade.
Absolutely, he's just able to do that with his 6 kills, with his 126 CS, and he's in a solid position where Elite JC just wasn't able to abuse her early range, did get pulled in by the Valkyrin, and she's just going to be forced to push out these lanes and fall back and defend her base.
Valkyrin playing this game so well, forcing Rule 18 to stay so far away, just scared of any more flash grabs from him. As we can see, Nasus trying to farm up the top lane, seeing if he can do anything, if he can stack his Q up against iDream.
I feel like we've had a flash grab from Valkyrin pretty much every time that it's been up this game. I think we've seen 3 flash grabs, and it's 17 minutes in, so once this next flash is off cooldown, I expect to see him making another play, this time potentially for an inhibitor turret.
Yes, if Cognitive Gaming can go ahead and get another grab with Blitzcrank or any sort of catch out with Zac even, they can definitely transition that into an inhibitor even at this point in the game. Project Challenger, rather, not in a position to be able to defend if they get more and more of their members picked off, as they have been throughout most of this game so far.
And right now, they're actually been taken low, EV card falling pretty low to Zamfira, and they're defending their inhibitor towers now with pressure on both the mid and bot lanes. We'll see how they allocate their resources to stop this, but if one lane falls a little bit behind or gets poked down a little bit too far, this could be an inhibitor turret.
Ooh, Nocturne barely spell shielding that grab just in time to prevent Valkyrin from catching him out as Zac is charging up.
The elastic slingshot comes in, lands on the Cloud X high. He does put down the slow, but the rest of Cognitive isn't actually falling up in here, and iDream is stuck inside the enemy base. The damage is going down. The tidal wave catches 3 members here of Cognitive Gaming. Nothing here has turned around for the damage, and they're actually returning it now. Zamfira does go down, but that's fine for him. He's getting the lay waste down. He throws the ultimate. It might kill Wild Mimo, and a V card actually are able to survive it through their shields. And a shutdown kill going down over onto Nothing here, and Zamfira trading over to Cloud X high, but this has so far been a 2-for-1.
Oh, and Blitzcrank and Lee Sin surprising Caitlyn, getting over that wall and finishing her off as a 2 for 2 in the end with that kill.
Like we
Definitely
said,
makes this much more worth it for Cognitive Gaming after picking up that kill. Captain Ziploc getting another resonating strike in onto Lux, but not going to go in on that one without his Blitzcrank.
Cognitive actually got an extra kill out of, or actually traded 2 for 2 there. They didn't get a kill advantage, and they didn't actually get an objective out of that, except for this dragon that they're now roaming down here, which they probably would have had anyway. So that wasn't necessarily the best dive. iDream did go in there without a lot of backup from his team, and that was the play that Project Challenger needed to make, except for Elite JC getting caught out there by both Captain Ziploc and Valkyrin. And we saw as soon as his flash was back off of cooldown, he used it to flash right over the wall, get the pull on Elite JC, and he has not been sitting on that very long.
Yes, as Blitzcrank, even with that little bit of a rough team fight going just 2 for 2, is still sitting at 4-0-8 as Corki is sitting at 6-1-6. This bottom lane absolutely decimating Project Challenger. If you take a look over to Caitlyn, she's 2-6-1, only just now getting her BF sword, trying to work towards that Infinity Edge, the BF sword along with the pickaxe, and Nami 1-3-4 trying to deal with this crazy aggressive bursty bottom lane.
And it is very difficult for her, because although she does have the disengage, it's just hard to answer the damage they have. She can land an Alco Prison on Valkyrin if he does land a grab, but so far, nothing here has just been able to put out the damage. Nothing here in Valkyrin. Now moving in, but the Light Binding is able to keep Valkyrin off for now, and this might just be a blue buff steal over here for Cognitive Gaming.
Yeah, with Cognitive having such huge lead that they do, as Valkyrin finally misses a pull there, they can go on ahead and take any map objective that they can, as long as they're in position for it. Going on ahead and stealing that blue buff, maybe even they'll go for that red buff, or Baron soon. They really have the map all the way completely wide open for them. They just have to not make much of a mistake to throw the game with any sort of crazy dive when they're outnumbered.
And they put the blue buff... Oh, sorry. They put the blue buff on the Corki, though, so he will be able to seize his space very, very well, with the cooldown very lowered on his ultimate, and the mana coming back very quick. iDream will jump in here. The pull lands onto Rule 18, who will go down very fast, won't be able to throw out... Actually did throw out the tidal wave earlier, but it didn't cause a lot to do in this fight. Zemfira is going in pretty far, is fine dying on this turret, and Cognitive is just making the push on this turret now.
Yes, and they definitely can. With that Blitzcrank, who's landing absolutely all of these pulls. The tower in the bottom lane almost down to half HP now. As you can see, iDream thinking about maybe going in, charging at that elastic slingshot yet again.
Looks like he's going to jump into Cloud High. Actually doesn't use the elastic slingshot there, but they have the manpower here. Captain Ziploc goes in for the flash kick on EV card. iDream comes in for the Let's Bounce, is putting out the damage. The flash from EV card comes out there, and Zemfira actually goes down for all that. iDream being dropped very low, but the ultimate from Karthus is going to actually not secure any of the kills. Cloud High did go down to Captain Ziploc, but this was a 4v4 right here.
Yeah, that cell division for iDream is what saved him right there, as Corki takes an ace in the hole to the face. Blitzcrank and Captain Ziploc seeing if they can get forward and make something happen as Nocturne ults in.
He goes hard into nothing here. The fear does go off, but it drives him even farther backward, and while Mimo is going to go for this kill, lands the Q, but isn't able to get him. Actually does get the kill on Valkyrin, a shutdown kill on the 5-0 support, who picked up a Trinity Force.
Yeah, that Trinity Force is actually what saved Corki's life there. So Blitzcrank thinks he's going to go on ahead and get one himself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're this ahead, you might as well. When you're a 5-1-9 support, you're either going to use that... I mean, you're going to use that gold to support your team. If you're supporting your team by killing the enemy, then that's perfectly all right, and that's just what he's doing here with a 14 kill participation in a 17 kill game.
Rule 18 and nothing here being a little bit too cocky as the Lux ult snipes him. Oh, taking that red buff and the blue buff, I believe he also had there. A little bit too aggressive there by nothing here, wanting to recall at the last possible second, pays for it with his life.
Definitely a good play from Project Challenger. It's what they need if they have any chance to get back into this game. But unfortunately, they were only able to take an outer turret from this. They only have 2 turrets down to the 5 here from Cognitive. And they're in a rough spot, being 8,000 gold down.
Yes, and now we can see Cognitive starting up this bear, and they have a Pink Ward on it. Challenger not really in position to defend this. They have no vision, I don't believe, anywhere on the top side of the jungle, actually. So Nocturne is not going to be able to use his Paranoia to ult in and try and smite steal this Baron.
He is getting very close, but it will go down. The smite coming early, but it doesn't matter. The ward goes down just as Baron dies, and so they'll know that it's down. They'll have the timer, but it might not matter, as nothing here cleans out that bot lane and then moves to help his team pressure the rest of the space.
Yes, with a 9k gold lead and Baron and that Triforce Blitzcrank, it looks like Cognitive Gaming is going to make a push in finally for one of these inhibitors. Caitlyn going ahead and setting down a Yordle Snap Trap, seeing if she can prepare for a little bit of defense here, but these towers, especially in the bottom lane, are starting to get really, really low.
Right, and with Valkyrin with the spot on grabs, I think that might have been the first grab we've seen that wasn't spell shielded or flashed away from. Just completely whiffing, but if he does get a pull here, that could be almost the base for Cognitive. They have such a powerful team. Nothing here is just going to push his minions up. Another pull missing from Valkyrin, but actually a lot of damage going on to Zamfira. The ult from Lux, as well as all of their skill shots, does put him down very low, but they don't really care if Zamfira dies now. He still is going to put down the exhaust, still has the Requiem. And they're actually on very low health bars. A Wild Mimo goes into the iDream, but is not able to get anything out of it.
Blitzcrank flashing forward, trying to get the pull onto Caitlyn, but Caitlyn flashes just barely right to the side of it as Corki ends up taking down that bottom tower. Now the bottom inhibitor is exposed, and it looks like Cognitive is going to have a pretty easy time poking it down.
And with that, that was just a distraction, even though it seemed like they didn't do that well there, the grab missing, the iDream getting taken very low. They're able to get the inhibitor turret and the inhibitor out of it. The Nightmare comes in from Wild Mimo. Zamfira is just trying to get in the middle of this team so he can get his Requiem on everyone, and as well as that Defile, he actually isn't taken down until the very end. Cloudx High falling very low, as well as a Wild Mimo. He is able to get out, and no members die from the Requiem iDream. Elastic Slingshot's in there, is putting down damage on the EV card, who will die, and this could be a Nexus turret falling here quick.
That fight started off pretty well for Project Challenger considering the situation, but Caitlyn actually ended up making a step forward too far and died very soon as Valkyrin misses another little bit of a pull right there. As soon as Caitlyn died, they lost all of their sustained damage. Even though she has been doing very poorly, she finally did get that Infinity Edge, but she wasn't able to use it once the Let's Bounce and all the burst ended up coming onto her.
And she's just in such a rough position. She had blown that flash earlier that Valkyrin had popped, and even with that 90 caliber net, just isn't able to save herself from the absolute aggression out of Cognitive. We called that they were going to be a dive team. They have the Zac, they have the Lee Sin, and even though Lee Sin doesn't necessarily scale well in the late game, he's just gone for a Sight Stone and a Randuin's Omen. He jumps into the middle of the team, kicks back Elite JC, and just throws down a slow on everyone.
Yes, as we can see, the members of Cognitive going on ahead and backing. A few of the members going ahead and backing, farming up their jungle, seeing if they can get any more items before they make another objective play on the map. They could theoretically go for Dragon right now, and possibly they will pick it up just to make sure everyone can get all their items, but right now they can go ahead and take another inhibitor and potentially win the game after the next team fight.
Right, they're in such a powerful position here, 11,000 gold up. Valkyrin might be going for the pull here. Overdrive's away. A Wild Mimo spell shields nothing, and this could be a pull miss on the Rule 18.
Yes, it could. As you can see now, Cognitive Gaming pushing down the mid tower. Corki throwing out his ultimate, seeing if they can get a little bit of a poke here, as Zamfira is going to be clearing those Yordle Snap Traps the best he can. It looks like they're going to go ahead and take the safe approach, though, and take down that top tower that's been up for a little while before they move on to the inhibitor turrets.
Project Challenger does have a good defense team. Caitlyn, as long as she doesn't get jumped on, has the range to clear out these waves, as well as EV card with the very strong wave clear. And they have defended their base for quite a while, but once they get into a full 5-on-5 fight, once the turret gets pricked out, and once a pull lands on the EV card, falling down very quickly, Zamfira picking up the kill. They're in a very strong position here on Cognitive Gaming. Captain Ziploc falling low, but the Let's Bounce landing onto everyone. Elite JC falling very far forward, and Rule 18 and a Wild Mimo getting taken down. Cloudx High is the only one alive over here on Project Challenger.
A very nice flash forward and kick back by Lee Sin there. Very well done by Captain Ziploc. Catching out Caitlyn yet again, and where another frustrating position for her where she wasn't able, as we see the surrender vote coming out from Project Challenger. Good game, well played to both teams, but very well played, certainly, into that Triforce Blitzcrank.
Absolutely, the Triforce Blitzcrank and the Brutalizer Blitzcrank putting out quite a bit of damage there, landing a lot of grabs. In the end, their motivation. But Valkyrin doing very, very well that game, and Cognitive showing why they are one of the best Challenger teams in all of North America.
Yes, they certainly did not go to PAX for nothing. They did very well there up until the finals, and showing that they're still a top team, even if they didn't end up taking that first spot.